Every conversation you have with a manipulative person is a test. Every question they ask, every favor they request, every boundary they push. They're not engaging with you. They're studying you, measuring how much you'll tolerate, how easily you bend, how quickly you apologize for things you didn't do. And here's what destroys most people. They don't even realize they're being tested until they've already failed. The manipulator has already cataloged your weaknesses, identified your pressure points, and mapped out exactly how to control you while you thought you were just being nice. This video will expose the tests manipulative people run on you, why they work, and how to pass them by refusing to play. Because the moment you understand the test, you control the outcome.
You're watching this because you felt it. That moment when someone pushed a boundary and you didn't know how to respond. That conversation that left you feeling guilty, even though you did nothing wrong. That relationship where you were always explaining yourself, always defending, always trying to prove you weren't the villain they painted you as. Most people spend their entire lives being tested and never realize it. They think they're being kind, accommodating, understanding. But kindness without awareness is just weakness in disguise. You're different. You're the type who senses when something's off, who notices patterns others miss, who refuses to be a pawn in someone else's psychological game. What you're about to learn isn't taught in therapy. It's not discussed in self-help books. It's not socially acceptable to even acknowledge. This is the invisible curriculum of human manipulation, the tests that predators run to separate the controllable from the untouchable. And you're about to become untouchable. Drop the word "tested" in the comments if someone has ever made you feel guilty for setting a boundary. Let's see how many of us have been here.
The first test is the most important because it determines everything that comes after. Manipulative people don't storm your boundaries. They probe them. They ask for something small, something seemingly innocent, something you'd feel ridiculous refusing. Can you do me a quick favor? Can I borrow this for just a day? Can we talk about this one more time? And you say yes, because it's small, because you're not unreasonable, because refusing would make you look petty. That's the test. They're not asking for the favor. They're measuring your willingness to comply. If you say yes without hesitation, they've learned something critical. You prioritize their comfort over your boundaries. And now they know exactly how to operate. Sun Tzu wrote, "All warfare is based on deception." Manipulators are at war with your autonomy, and their first tactic is making small requests seem harmless. But no request from a manipulator is harmless. It's reconnaissance. Here's how it escalates. You agree to the small favor. Next time, it's slightly bigger, then bigger still. Each time you're thinking, well, I did it last time, it would be inconsistent to refuse now. They're building a precedent, a pattern, a psychological contract where you're always saying yes. And by the time you try to say no, you're the one who feels like you're breaking the rules. Here's the counter move. Recognize the test for what it is. When someone asks for something small, especially early in a relationship, pause. Not because you're calculating whether to help, but because you're observing how they ask. Do they accept no gracefully, or do they push? Do they respect your hesitation, or do they make you feel guilty for it? That tells you everything. Here's the application. Say no to something small early on. Not to be difficult, to observe their reaction. If they respect it, you're dealing with someone who has boundaries of their own. If they guilt you, pressure you, or make you feel like you're being unreasonable for having autonomy, you've just identified a manipulator. And the warning? Once a manipulator knows you'll cave under pressure, they'll never stop applying it. Because why would they? It works.
Test 2. The oversharing trap. This one is brilliant because it feels like intimacy. Early in the relationship, they share something deeply personal, a trauma, a secret, a vulnerability. And it feels like trust, like connection, like they've chosen you as someone special. That's the test. They're not bonding with you, they're creating an obligation. Because now that they've been vulnerable with you, you feel compelled to reciprocate, to match their level of openness, to prove you're trustworthy too. So, you share something you wouldn't normally share, something private, something that could be used against you. And congratulations, you've just handed them ammunition. Machiavelli observed that the person who reveals least holds the most power. Manipulators understand this instinctively. They give you vulnerability to extract information. But here's the twist. Their vulnerability is often calculated. They share just enough to seem authentic, but never anything that actually compromises them. Meanwhile, what you shared, that's real, that's leverage, and they'll use it the moment you step out of line. Here's the pattern. They overshare, you feel honored, you reciprocate. Later, when you set a boundary or challenge them, they bring up what you shared, framed as proof of your hypocrisy, your weakness, or your instability. You're the one with trust issues, remember? You told me about your past. You're clearly not over it. After everything I've shared with you, this is how you treat me? Your vulnerability has been weaponized. Here is the countermove. Don't match their level of disclosure just because they disclosed first. Intimacy isn't a transaction. It's earned over time, through consistent behavior, not through performative vulnerability. When someone trauma dumps early, observe it, acknowledge it, but don't feel obligated to match it. "Thank you for trusting me with that," is a complete response. You don't owe them your secrets just because they offered theirs. Here's the application. Be strategic about what you reveal and when. Save your real vulnerabilities for people who've proven over time that they handle information with care, not people who front-load intimacy to create false closeness. And the warning? If someone makes you feel guilty for not sharing at their pace, that's manipulation. Real trust doesn't demand reciprocity. It offers space for it when you're ready.
Test 4. The manufactured urgency. Manipulators operate on your time, not theirs. They'll create false urgency to pressure you into decisions before you have time to think. I need to know right now. This opportunity won't be here tomorrow. If you can't commit now, I'll have to find someone else. This is a test of your impulse control. Will you make a decision under pressure to avoid disappointing them, or will you hold your ground and demand time to think? Most people fail this test because the fear of missing out, the fear of disappointing someone, the fear of seeming indecisive, all of it overrides logic. And manipulators know this. Machiavelli wrote that the most effective control comes from forcing subjects into a state where they must choose quickly and emotionally, not slowly and rationally. Manufactured urgency is psychological warfare. Here's the pattern. They present something as time-sensitive. You feel pressure. You agree to something you wouldn't have agreed to if you'd had time to consider it. Later, you realize the urgency was fake. The deadline was arbitrary. The pressure was manufactured. But by then, you've already committed. Here's the countermove. Anytime someone demands an immediate answer, the answer is automatically no. Not because you're being difficult, because you're being strategic. Real opportunities respect your need to think. Fake opportunities evaporate under scrutiny. If something is genuinely valuable, it will still be valuable tomorrow. If someone pressures you to decide now, they're either manipulating you or they're so desperate that their offer isn't worth accepting anyway. Here's the application. Practice saying this: I need time to think. I'll get back to you. If they push back, you've identified manipulation. If they respect it, you've maintained control. And the warning? Manipulators will frame your need for time as you being indecisive, uncommitted, or disrespectful. That's not true. That's just their last-ditch effort to pressure you before you see through the tactic. Stand firm. Anyone who can't wait for your thoughtful answer doesn't deserve your impulsive yes. Test 5. The Guilt Amplifier. This test exploits your conscience. Manipulators will do something for you, something you didn't ask for, and then hold it over your head. After everything I've done for you, I was there when you needed me, and now you can't do this one thing? I've sacrificed so much for you. This is a test of whether you'll accept responsibility for debts you never agreed to incur. And most people do, because good people feel obliged to reciprocate kindness. But here's the trap. Their kindness was never kind. It was an investment. And now they're collecting. Nietzsche said, "The deed is everything, the glory is nothing." But manipulators invert this. For them, the glory, the recognition, the obligation, the leverage is everything. The deed is just the down payment. Here's how it works. They help you when you're vulnerable. It feels genuine at the time. But later, every boundary you set is met with a reminder of what they did. Every time you prioritize yourself, you're made to feel selfish. Every time you say no, you're accused of being ungrateful. The help was never help. It was a trap. Here's the countermove. Gratitude doesn't equal obligation. You can appreciate what someone did without surrendering your autonomy forever. I appreciate what you did. That doesn't mean I owe you compliance in perpetuity.
If someone truly helps you without strings, they never remind you of it. If someone constantly references what they've done, the strings were always there, you just didn't see them at first. Here's the application. Be wary of people who do unsolicited favors early in the relationship. Not all help is manipulation, but manipulators use help as leverage. So observe, do they do things for you and then let it go? Or do they do things for you and constantly remind you? That pattern tells you everything. And the warning? Manipulators will pull out their entire ledger of everything they've ever done for you. Not because they care about reciprocity, but because they're trying to re-establish control. Don't fall for it. Real generosity doesn't come with a bill.
Test 6. The Isolation Audit. Manipulators need you alone to control you effectively. So they test how connected you are to others. They'll subtly criticize your friends, undermine your family, question why you spend time with certain people. Your friends seem kind of fake. Your family doesn't really understand you. You're always so stressed after seeing them. This is a test of whether they can separate you from your support system. If you agree and start pulling away from others, they've won. If you defend your relationships, they back off temporarily, but they've learned they need to be more subtle. Sun Tzu wrote, "Divide and conquer." Manipulators know that a person surrounded by loyal friends and family is harder to control than a person who's isolated. So they plant doubt. They create friction. They position themselves as the only one who truly understands you. Here's the pattern. They criticize your inner circle. You start seeing flaws you didn't notice before. You pull back from those relationships. Your world gets smaller. Now, the manipulator is your primary source of validation, perspective, and connection. And that's exactly where they want you. Here's the counter move. Anyone who makes you feel like they're the only person who gets you is isolating you. Real connection doesn't require you to abandon other connections. Real intimacy doesn't compete with your other relationships. If someone needs to diminish everyone else in your life to elevate their importance, they're not connecting with you. They're controlling you. Here's the application. Pay attention to how someone talks about the people you care about. Do they respect your other relationships? Or do they subtly undermine them? If you notice a pattern of them creating distance between you and others, you're being isolated. And the warning? Once you're isolated, every other manipulation tactic becomes exponentially more effective because you have no one to reality check with. No one to validate that what you're experiencing isn't normal. Stay connected, even when it feels easier to just focus on the one person who gets you. That ease is the trap.
Test 7. The Apology Trap. This test is sophisticated because it uses your own values against you. Manipulators will do something hurtful, and when you address it, they'll apologize immediately. Not a real apology, a strategic one.
I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I'm sorry I was just stressed. These aren't apologies, they're deflections. But they sound close enough to apologies that good people accept them. And that's the test. Will you accept a hollow apology to avoid conflict, or will you push for accountability? Most people accept it because they don't want to be that person who doesn't accept an apology. They don't want to seem unforgiving, and manipulators know this. Machiavelli observed that the appearance of remorse is more valuable than actual remorse because it neutralizes anger without requiring change. Manipulators apologize to disarm you, not to change. Here's the pattern. They hurt you, you bring it up, they apologize. You feel relief, you think it's resolved. 2 weeks later, they do the exact same thing. You bring it up again, they apologize again. The cycle repeats, and you start to realize the apology means nothing. It's a placeholder, a way to end the conversation without addressing the behavior. Here's the counter move. Stop accepting apologies that don't come with changed behavior. An apology without change is just manipulation with better PR. I appreciate the apology. I need to see different behavior moving forward. That's accountability. If they deliver it, great. If they don't, you have your answer. Here's the application. Observe the pattern, not the apology. Do they apologize and change, or do they apologize and repeat? One is remorse, the other is strategy. And the warning? Manipulators will accuse you of not letting things go when you hold them accountable for patterns. That's not you being unforgiving, that's them refusing to change. Real remorse doesn't need you to forget. It proves itself through different behavior. Test 8. The Competence Challenge. This test attacks your self-esteem and creates dependence. Manipulators will subtly undermine your confidence in your own abilities. Are you sure you want to handle that yourself? You're not really good at this kind of thing, are you? Maybe you should let me do it. I'm better at it. This is a test of whether you'll internalize their doubt. If you start questioning yourself, start deferring to them, start believing you need them, you've failed the test. And now they've positioned themselves as indispensable. Nietzsche wrote that the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. Manipulators are a tribe of one, trying to overwhelm your sense of competence so you rely on them. Here's the pattern. They question your abilities. You start doubting yourself. You ask for their help. They provide it, while reinforcing that you couldn't have done it without them. Over time, you stop trying things independently. You defer to them. You believe you need them. That's dependence, and dependence is control. Here's the counter move. Trust yourself more than you trust their assessment of you. If you were capable before you met them, you're capable now. Their doubt is a tactic, not a truth. Here's the application.
When someone questions your competence, do the thing anyway. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that their doubt was unfounded. Competence is built through action, not through someone else's permission. And the warning? When you stop deferring to them, when you reclaim your confidence, they'll panic. They'll escalate the criticism. They'll point out every small mistake as proof you need them. That's not concern. That's control slipping. Stand firm. You were never as incapable as they needed you to believe.
Test 9. The emotional hostage. This is one of the darkest tests. Manipulators will make their emotional state your responsibility. If you loved me, you wouldn't do this. You're the only thing keeping me going. I don't know what I'd do without you. This is a test of whether you'll sacrifice your boundaries to manage their emotions. And most people do, because the alternative feels cruel. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for another adult's emotional regulation. You can care, you can support, you can empathize. But the moment someone makes their well-being contingent on your compliance, they've crossed from vulnerability into manipulation. Machiavelli wrote that the most effective chains are those the captive believes they placed on themselves. Emotional hostage-taking is that chain. You're not being held by force. You're being held by guilt, by the belief that if you leave, if you set a boundary, if you prioritize yourself, something terrible will happen. And it will be your fault. Here's the pattern. They imply their stability depends on you. You feel trapped. You try to set a boundary. They spiral. You back down. You try again. They spiral harder. You internalize that you're the problem. Now, you're managing their emotions at the expense of your own well-being. That's not love. That's captivity. Here's the countermove. Their emotional state is not your responsibility. You can care without being controlled. I care about you, but I can't sacrifice my well-being to manage your emotions. You need professional support for that. If they respond with threats, self-harm threats, abandonment threats, any threats, you've confirmed it's manipulation, and you need to leave immediately. Here's the application. Set boundaries even when they emotionally react. Their reaction is theirs to manage, not yours to prevent. If they're genuinely struggling, they'll seek appropriate help. If they're manipulating, they'll escalate the emotional display to regain control. Either way, you'll know. And the warning: emotional hostage-taking escalates if you comply. The more you sacrifice to manage their emotions, the more they'll weaponize their emotional state. It never ends, because it's not about their emotions, it's about controlling you.
Test 10. The final exam. Respect for no. This is the test that determines everything. At some point, you'll say no. You'll set a boundary. You'll refuse a request. You'll prioritize yourself. And in that moment, the manipulator reveals who they really are. Do they respect your no, or do they fight it? Do they accept your boundary, or do they reframe it as you being selfish, cold, unreasonable? Do they acknowledge your right to autonomy, or do they punish you for exercising it? This is the test that separates manipulators from healthy people, because healthy people respect no. Manipulators see no as a challenge to overcome. Sun Tzu wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." Manipulators don't respect your no through open conflict. They erode it through guilt, pressure, reframing, and emotional escalation. No becomes "you're being difficult." No becomes "after everything I've done for you." No becomes "you're hurting me." And if you cave, if you change your no to a yes to relieve the pressure, you've just taught them that your boundaries aren't real. They're negotiable, breakable, irrelevant. Here's the pattern. You say no, they push back. You hold firm, they escalate. You eventually cave, they learn. Now every future no will face the same pressure because they know it works. Here's the counter move. Your first no must be your final no. Not aggressive, not defensive, just firm. I've said no. That's my answer. If they respect it, you're dealing with someone healthy. If they don't, you're dealing with a manipulator, and you need to act accordingly. Here's the application. Practice saying no without explanation. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe justification. You don't owe reasoning. You don't owe negotiation. No means no. And the warning? The first time you enforce a real boundary with a manipulator, they will escalate dramatically. They'll rage, they'll guilt, they'll threaten, they'll play the victim, not because your boundary is unreasonable, but because it threatens their control. That escalation is proof you made the right decision, because people who respect you don't punish you for boundaries, they honor them.
Every test is a question. Can I control you? Can I guilt you? Can I isolate you? Can I make you doubt yourself? Can I make you responsible for my emotions? Can I pressure you into ignoring your instincts? And every time you pass the test, every time you hold a boundary, refuse a manipulation, trust yourself over their narrative, you're answering, no, you can't. Manipulative people don't test everyone. They test people they think they can control. They look for kindness, empathy, loyalty, integrity, and they exploit it. Not because those traits are weak, but because most people don't know how to protect them. You do now. You've learned the tests. You've learned the tactics. You've learned the counter moves. And now, you're no longer an easy target. You're a problem. Because the person who recognizes the test controls the outcome. The person who sees manipulation can't be manipulated. The person who holds boundaries can't be controlled. And that makes you dangerous to people who operate in the shadows. They need you to be unaware, compliant, guilty, confused. But you're none of those things anymore. You're strategic, you're awake, you're untouchable. And the manipulators in your life will sense that immediately. Some will respect it and leave you alone. Others will escalate, trying harder to regain control. That's how you know who they really are, because the person who respects your boundaries was never the problem. The person who fights them was always the manipulator. So here's the final truth. You don't have to win every test. You don't have to outsmart every manipulation. You just have to refuse to play. And the moment you stop playing their game, you've already won. Because the only power they ever had was the power you didn't realize you were giving them. Take it back. And never let anyone test you into believing you're less than you are. You passed the only test that matters. You saw the game for what it was. Now walk away from the players who never deserved you.